I knew an old man who never spoke during the rain. Not a word, not even a whisper. The moment the first drops started falling, he would stop mid-sentence, close his mouth, and wait. His name was João. He lived alone on a small tributary about 6 hours upriver from Tef. I met him in 1987. I was maybe 30 years old then, still learning the river. João was different from other river people, quieter, more careful with his words. Most men who live alone on the river talk a lot when they finally have company. They have weeks of thoughts saved up, stories they've been waiting to tell. Not João. He measured his words like they cost something. I noticed it the first time I stopped at his house. It was late afternoon. The sky was getting dark, heavy clouds building up over the forest. We were sitting on his porch, drinking coffee. He was telling me about the best places to fish for tambaqui. Then the rain started. Just a few drops at first, tapping on the tin roof. João stopped talking mid-sentence like someone had cut the power to his voice. I waited for him to continue. He didn't. He just sat there, looking at the rain, his coffee cup halfway to his mouth, completely silent. I thought maybe he was listening for something, some change in the weather, some sign I didn't understand yet. So I stayed quiet too. The rain got heavier. It poured for maybe 20 minutes. That hard, loud rain that drowns out everything else. João didn't move, didn't speak, just watched the water falling. Then, as suddenly as it started, the rain stopped. The silence after rain in the Amazon is different from other silences. Everything drips. The forest exhales. Birds start calling again, one by one. João took a sip of his coffee, cold by then. He said, "The fishing is better near the fallen tree. The big one. You'll see it like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just been silent for 20 minutes. I didn't ask why. You learn on the river not to ask too many questions. People have their reasons. But I was curious. I visited João many times over the years. Sometimes I'd stay a few days, help him fix his roof or clear his fishing nets. And every single time it rained, the same thing happened. He would stop talking, immediately, completely. Once, I was in the middle of asking him a question when the rain started. I was saying, "Do you think the first drop hit the roof?" João's mouth closed. My question hung in the air, unfinished. We sat in silence until the rain passed. Then he answered the question I'd started asking 15 minutes earlier, like no time had passed at all. Another time we were eating lunch, rice and fish. He was telling me about his daughter who lived in Manaus, about his grandchildren he'd never met. The rain came. He put down his fork, stopped mid-story, sat there with this faraway look in his eyes. I ate my lunch in silence, listened to the rain, watched him watch the water. When it stopped, he picked up his fork and continued the exact sentence he'd been saying. "And the oldest one, she's studying to be a teacher." It was strange, but also peaceful. There was something respectful about it. Something ceremonial. I lived on the river for 3 more years before I finally asked him about it. We were working on his boat, replacing some rotted boards. It was a clear day. No rain in sight. I said, "João, can I ask you something?" He looked up. "Of course. Why don't you speak when it rains?" He was quiet for a long time. Not the rain silence. A different kind of quiet. The kind that comes before someone tells you something important. He put down his hammer, sat on the edge of his boat, looked out at the river. "My father taught me," he said finally. "When I was very young, maybe 5 or 6 years old." He was quiet again. I waited. We were in the forest, collecting Brazil nuts. It was the dry season. We needed rain. The streams were low. The fish were hard to find. My father was worried. I could tell. He kept looking at the sky. Then, finally, the rain came. I was happy. I started talking, laughing. I said, "Look, Pai, the rain came. We'll have fish again." My father grabbed my arm, not hard but firm. He said, "Be quiet." I stopped talking. He said, "When the rain speaks, you listen." João looked at me. That's what he said. When the rain speaks, you listen. I didn't understand it then. I thought he was just being strange. Old people believe odd things, you know. But he was serious about it. Every time it rained after that, he would stop whatever he was doing. Stop talking, just listen. So I learned to do the same. At first, I was just copying him, being obedient. But over time, I started to understand. He picked up a piece of wood, ran his hand over it. The rain is the forest talking. It's how the forest communicates, how it cleans itself, how it feeds itself, how it decides what lives and what doesn't. When you talk during rain, you're talking over the forest. You're being rude. My father said the forest forgives many things, but rudeness, disrespect, that it remembers. João looked up at the sky. Still clear. I've lived on this river for 68 years. I've seen men who didn't respect the forest, who took too much, who made too much noise, who thought they were bigger than this place. Most of them didn't last long. Some got sick. Some had accidents. Some just disappeared, went into the forest one day and never came back. Maybe it's coincidence. Maybe it's not. But I learned a long time ago that the forest doesn't need to explain itself to me. I just need to show it respect. So when it rains, I stop talking. I listen. I let the forest say what it needs to say. And in 68 years, the forest has been good to me. It's fed me, protected me, let me stay. I think that's a fair trade. He went back to working on the boat. The conversation was over. But I thought about what he said for a long time. I started paying attention to the rain differently after that. Not just as weather, but as something with purpose, with meaning. And I noticed things I'd never noticed before. The way certain animals go quiet when it rains. How snakes move to higher ground. How some birds sing louder right after rain stops, like they're celebrating. The way the forest smells different during rain. Sharper, more alive. The way sound changes. How even heavy rain has rhythm to it. Patterns. I started to understand what Joe meant. The forest was speaking, and most of us were too busy talking to hear it. The person I was with kept talking for a minute. Leaves. Mud. Each one distinct. Somewhere in the distance, a howler monkey called. Just once. Water running off the roof created a pattern. And underneath it all, a kind of breathing. The forest exhaling, releasing something. It was like Joe said. The forest was speaking, and it had a lot to say. I visited João one last time in 2003. He was very old by then, maybe 85, still living alone, still taking care of himself. Showing respect to something bigger than both of us. The rain lasted maybe half an hour. When it stopped, João smiled. He said, "The forest is in a good mood today." "How do you know?" I asked. The rain was gentle. No thunder, no wind, just water. The forest is content. He took a sip of his coffee. On angry days, the rain is different, violent. The forest is upset about something. Those are the days you stay inside. Don't travel, don't take risks. But today is peaceful. I looked out at the forest, still dripping, everything green and alive. "Can you always tell," I asked, "what the forest is feeling?" He shrugged. "Sometimes, after many years of listening, you start to recognize the patterns, the moods, but I don't claim to understand it. I just pay attention. That's all any of us can do." The forest is slowly taking it back. When the rain starts, I stop talking. Sometimes people think it's strange. They look at me funny, keep talking, waiting for me to respond. It doesn't demand worship or sacrifice or grand gestures. It just asks for attention, for respect, for silence when it speaks. That's a small thing to give. João understood that. His father understood it. And now I understand it too. The forest has rules, not written down, not posted on signs, but real nonetheless. And the people who last on this river are the ones who learn to follow them, who learn when to talk and when to listen. who learn to recognize when the forest is speaking, because the forest is always speaking, in the rain, in the wind, in the way animals behave, in the smell of the air before a storm. Most people just aren't listening. They're too busy talking, too busy with their own thoughts, their own plans, their own noise. But if you can quiet yourself, if you can stop talking and start listening, the forest will teach you everything you need to know. It taught João, it taught his father. It's been teaching me for 40 years, and it's still teaching me. Every time it rains, I've heard many stories like this over the years. Stories about respect, about listening, about understanding that you're part of something much larger than yourself. I wonder if you have stories like this too. To show respect to something you didn't fully understand, share your story in the comments. I read every one. And somewhere, someone is stopping mid-sentence, closing their mouth, listening, showing respect to the forest that feeds them, shelters them, lets them stay. It's a small gesture, but small gestures matter here. The forest notices everything, the forest remembers everything, and the forest rewards those who pay attention. João knew that. That's why the forest was good to him, why it provided for him, why it let him stay. He listened when the forest spoke, and the forest, in return, spoke to him. That's the trade. That's always been the trade. Silence during rain, respect during storms, attention to what most people ignore. In exchange, the forest gives you a life, a place, a purpose. It's a fair trade. It always has been. The rain is stopping now. I can hear it. The drops getting lighter. The rhythm slowing down. The birds will start singing again soon. The insects will resume their chorus. The forest will exhale. And somewhere on this river, an old man will pick up the sentence he left unfinished 20 minutes ago. Will continue his story as if no time had passed. Because for him, no time did pass. He was just listening, just showing respect, just doing what the forest asked, which is all any of us can do. Listen when it speaks. Be quiet when it rains. Pay attention to what it's trying to tell you. The forest has been here for millions of years. It knows things we don't. It sees patterns we can't. The least we can do is stop talking and listen when it has something to say. That's what João taught me. That's what his father taught him. And now I'm teaching it to you. When the rain speaks, you listen. Everything else follows from that.